Our next speaker is going to be Honorable Labuskaki.
Honorable Speaker, Mr. President, members of Parliament, honored guests, and the most important people, fellow South Africans. From our history, it is evident that we are resilient people, able to adjust and survive even in the extreme difficult times and circumstances. However, Mr. President, after your 5-year term of empty promises, you and your ANC government are certainly testing our resilience. From constant load shedding, forever increasing violent crimes, high levels of unemployment, especially the youth, loss of investment due to corruption, poor management, and cadre deployment, all of us, it has ultimately contributed to our critical economic situation. A government's main task is to create an environment for economic growth and opportunities, as well as to provide service delivery through effective policies and legislation, none of which you have been able to achieve in your term. In fact, Mr. President, you have done the exact opposite. If we take only but one example, the NHI bill, which has just been bulldozed through Parliament with your ANC majority, will actually provide people with less healthcare, specifically affecting the poorest of the poor. It is clear as day that the NHI bill is unconstitutional and unimplementable. This has been pointed out not only by the Democratic Alliance, but also by organizations such as Business for South Africa and Business Unity South Africa. Even medical associations such as the South African Medical Association has warned that we will have a complete skill drain of medical practitioners should this bill be implemented. Mr. President, it is clear that the NHI bill will be the final nail in South Africa's economy and will completely collapse an already underfunded and decimated public health sector. Despite passing this bill, South Africans still do not even know how it will be funded. The only conceivable way would be to increase taxes on an already overtaxed population. One only has to look at the troubles our public healthcare system is facing now to know that this bill is nothing more than a cheap political tool for the ANC to try and save itself from an inevitable losing its majority. Almost all public health facilities are understocked and underfunded, with many not having the necessary equipment to complete life-saving operations. In fact, most public hospitals do not even meet the minimum criteria for certification by the Office of Health Standard Compliance. Some public hospitals do not even have computers or electricity at times, with doctors having to operate with cell phone torches. In some hospitals, patients are pulled up flights of stairs to the operating room because the lifts either don't work from lacking of service or because they have not exempt from load shedding. How can we possibly implement this bill when we have the shining beacons of maladministration and corruption, such as Livingston Hospital in the Eastern Cape, Palanomi in the Free State, and Rahima Musa in Gauteng? We have a massive shortage of doctors and nurses in the country. Just the other week, we heard how approximately 800 doctors who recently graduated and finished community service are sitting at home without a job because the ANC government cannot fund them. All the while, we pay millions of rands a year for Cuban doctors to come to South Africa. Even your own Minister of Health admitted that there is no funding for these posts. Where are we supposed to fund the NHI from when we can't even put doctors in our hospitals? The budget implications for the NHI bill are enormous. Again, one of your own, the Minister of Finance, has stated that there is no money to implement NHI. If your own minister has admitted this, then why, Mr. President, are you playing with the people's lives for the sake of cheap politicking? It is time you play open cards with us, all admit that NHI is not financially feasible and put business and medical associations and the people of South Africa at ease. But I can go on. The feedback received during the public participation processes of the NHI bill was not carefully considered by neither the National Assembly nor the National Council of Provinces. Public participation is one of the core elements what makes our constitution and lawmaking one of the strongest around the world. Mr. President, the DA wrote to you requesting you to refer the NHI bill back to Parliament as it will not pass constitutional muster. Both BUSA and BSA have written to you requesting not to sign the bill. You cannot just stick your head in the sand and pretend these very real issues do not exist. It is prescribed in the Constitution that you must refer a bill back to Parliament if there are constitutional concerns. But it looks like you would rather pander to your ANC colleagues than to your constitutional obligations. You have had your chance, but your time is now up, Mr. President. The DA will fight for the achievement of realistic universal health care and will ensure that public facilities are strengthened to improve service delivery and accountability without detrimentally financially burdening our country, as the unconstitutional NHI bill will do. Under a DA-anchored government, no person will be excluded from accessing quality health care. Under a DA-anchored government, there will be a realization for progressive
As you
rights
conclude, honorable member,
as enshrined in Section 27 of the Constitution.
thank you very much. We will now proceed to Honorable Malachi.
Thobela Speaker sa National Assembly, Mopresidente wa rena, Deputy President wa rena, Chairperson ya NCOP. I am not going to greet the murderers who contributed to the killing of the people of Palestine. I am not going to greet the IFP, a political party that was funded by right-wing murderers who have killed the people of Thokoza, KZN, Sebokeng, and many other parts of South Africa. The people who worked against the people's power. President, the story of Tintswalo is a story of hope, reflecting on opportunities, possibilities created by the breakthrough of democracy, touching and transforming the lives of people from as far as Zingizingi, Ngomo, in the deep rural areas. Honorable members, we also acknowledge that there are many young people who are not employed or in education or training programs. Their socio-economic challenges must be addressed urgently. They also want to be Tintswalos. 30 years into democracy, our challenge to ensure that we sustain the areas of progress to make sure the people of South Africa continue to have access to clear electricity, water, sanitation, waste collection, and other basic services. South Africans want a consistent, effective policy implementation led by the ANC. Despite the technical glitches impacting on NEFSAS, over 4.1 million university students and 2.4 million TVET students have been supported by NEFSAS since 1994. Those are the achievements. President, just to remind them that in 2024, after a clear outcry that NEFSAS must also try to assist those that are in the bracket of 350,000 who are not funded before, the ANC-led government is committed to assist to fund those that have been missing in that area. Because we understand, as the ANC, that there are people who were too rich to access NSFAS but too poor to afford education. President, we also welcome the 1.6 million presidential employment program opportunities created for youth placement in various sectors to gain skills and experience. The digital technology has created many opportunities as the youth earn income through online platforms, building their own creative careers. For example, President, through the influence of the ANC-led government, our local DJs are able to showcase their talent and promote their music internationally. President, a re bolele ka mamina mo re bolela dilo tša nnete. In the previous financial year, the NYDA empowered 2,320 youth-owned enterprises through the financial interventions, which took form through the NYDA grant programs and NYDA voucher programs. Through these financial business interventions, 6,796 jobs were created for young people employed by youth-owned businesses. Those are achievements of the ANC. A re bolele mokete wa dikatse, le Steenhuisen a ka benefita a nyaka. Through the mentorship access to the market and business management training programs, the NYDA provided 34,209 young people with support. There is a direct relationship, President, between funding of youth-owned enterprises and the creation of jobs. One of the most significant achievements was the removal of work entry experience and entry-level employment by government. We call upon the private sector to follow the instruction of the President, your funders, DA. Mr. President, we welcome that the UIF-funded labor activation program, LAB, that seeks to support employment and the training of the youth. We know the intention is to create 2 million work opportunities in the immediate future. We urge the Department of Employment and Labor, and supported by Treasury, to roll out this program without further delay. President, the following program must urgently be fast-tracked. We must reskill the youth to respond to the economic demand of the country, the challenging world of intelligence and digital transformation. We need a massive higher education through digital transformation to ensure that we target and make sure we meet the National Development Plan targets. We shall continue when we come back in the 7th administration to open the doors of learning and teaching. Siyabuya. President, UNISA and other universities during COVID-19 demonstrated such capabilities, which developed the state-of-the-art specialized universities and TVET colleges, aligned with our industrial strategy and the capabilities of the various districts. Our higher education institutions do not only contribute to the skill development, but also a high impact on local economic development in areas where the institution of higher learning. Higher education institutions should also be aligned with our mega infrastructure projects of development. President, it is only the African National Congress-led government that was able to break the cycle of poverty in many families, and one of the key achievements were delivered by the ANC. Today, a child of a domestic worker, a child of an informal worker, a child of an unemployed parent, today is a doctor, is an engineer, is a chartered accountant, is a pilot, is a CFO, is a CEO, and many other professions. It is only because of the ANC-led government in the past 30 years. It is clear, President, that even if they deny some in the DA are products, are minute in swallows, they know that they are products of the Inswalo program of the African National Congress. President, Premier Panyaza Lesuifu has demonstrated that provinces can also expand youth development programs through the NASISPANI program. The presidential employment program should be doubled, and all provinces should follow the example of Gauteng, including the Western Cape. We must address the market dominance in the telecommunication sector. President, the youth of the country has long demanded a free data for all. And we know that when we come back, it shall be implemented. The global trends have shown that small business sector is the highest job creator supported by industrial economy.
As you conclude,
South Africa remains the most unequal country where the wealth is still controlled by the white male minorities, and that shall be restructured. We urgently call upon the restructuring of the economy so the economy of the country reflects the demographics of the country. We shall decisively address the land question for
Your time is
agricultural
up.
production and human settlements so that we address the asset inequalities. Thank you very much.
Honorable Olomisa.
Chairperson, Honorable President and Deputy President, and honorable members. Mr. President, the United Democratic Movement fully agrees with the sentiment that South Africa must be rebuilt, as you had indicated in your State of the Nation address. The UDM will give its perspective on this question, where I will have more time on the 2nd of March at the Gallagher Convention Center, when we will be launching our manifesto for 2024 national and provincial elections. Xa sisakha le ndlu, izawusikhumbuza ke mongameli ukuthi phaya eBhayibhileni umprofeti waGayi chapter 2 verse 3 and 4 uthi, ngubani na osekhoyo apho sayikhumbulayo le ndlu ngexesha yayisesebuqaqawuleni bayo, niyibona njani ngoku? Sawubeka ke into ezifana nezondo commission uba ile damage yenzekileyo siphi ngoku. What I would like to raise with you, Mr. President, in the limited time I have, is the matter that you had last year instructed Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana to attend to, which is the matter of the SATBVC state pensioners. Your public instruction created a legitimate expectation within the community of thousands upon thousands of ex-civil servants and their families that their complaints will at long last be attended to. Mr. President, a year has lapsed and nothing has happened to fulfill your instruction. Aside from a meeting I had with the minister on the 22nd of March 2023, that created some expectation with the pensioners committee, nothing further happened. As you might be aware, the SATBVC pensioners have now resorted to a legal route to seek to effect your instruction, which will take time and resources. Yet National Treasurer, GEPF, and the PIC did not go to court to consult with anyone before they used pensioners' monies to bail out SOEs and funded BE transactions to the tune of billions of rands. I would therefore strongly recommend an alternative solution from your office, and that is that an independent body with chartered accountants and tax experts be mandated to handle the matter with subpoena powers to clear the house. That the erstwhile asset managers like Sanlam and others, the GEPF, the PIC, and National Treasury be made to give answers to this independent body, with its primary goal to clear as many claims as possible, as soon as possible, because the consequences of our decisions affect people's lives. Mr. President, as some of these pensioners have passed away in 2023 and others long before that, who did not get to enjoy the benefits of their labors. Oh makhulu, no tatomkhulu, balentwazana kuthiwa nguThintswalo, bafuna imali yabo ababeyicontribute kwipension abalwinani banikeni imali yabo abantu. Niyeke uthatha imali ze-pensions beef up ii-BEE companies ningabanikanga sanutya yonke into leni. A similar scenario is playing out amongst ex-mine workers who had been promised attention during former President Mbeki and Zuma's tenures, who had been retrenched during or using the so-called blue card system. The UDM proposes that a task.
As you conclude,
No, the next 5 minutes. Awuphazami, the next 5 minutes. That's not the 3 minutes.
no, Honorable Minister. Look at the watch on the right.
Obvious. Kodwa ke sithi ke kuyo yonke le nto izinto zasezimayini nabasemahlabathini nabase-Rustenburg mabanikwe imali zabo, abanye basemahlabathini bekuthiwe bazawunikwa inantsika
The
i-rights.
time is up.
Sathetha mawodini thulani amasela la.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to Honorable Seropen.
Thank you very much, Mr. House Chair. Mr. President, in November 2017, you promised, if you were elected leader of your party, that you would implement a 10-point New Deal. You echoed Franklin D. Roosevelt, and you promised to pull millions of South Africans out of poverty and into the mainstream economy. We stand here 6.5 years later, and that landscape, that utopian landscape you painted then, has not come to pass. What we instead have is the shadow of unfulfilled promises and a deepening economic crisis. And this is because of the failures of your government, particularly in job creation. You broke the very first promise that you made to this country. And the young people bear the brunt of this crisis. 70% of young people aged 15 to 24 have been unable to secure jobs. And the government's stranglehold on the business environment has choked the ability for this economy to create jobs. Unemployment has surged from 20% in 1994, since we hear a lot in this debate about the progress since 1994. So let's look at some progress. 20% unemployment in 1994. We now have 32.9% unemployment in 2024. When you include people who have given up looking for work because they cannot find a job, that unemployment rate is an alarming 42.4%. Now, to add insult to injury, instead of rectifying our economic mistakes, the ANC has shifted the burden onto a shrinking tax base and plans to do so again later this month in the budget. Slow economic growth has created a tax to GDP ratio of 25%, which is one of the highest in the world. South Africans have one of the highest tax to GDP ratios in the world. South Africans are overburdened with tax. And these citizens pay much more tax compared not to wealthy countries, but to developing and middle income countries. The citizens, through tax, are paying a huge financial price to fund the ANC's failures. Now, government's failure to manage public debt has pushed us towards a fiscal crisis, and 20% of all government revenue is now dedicated to servicing debt. Not healthcare, not police, not teachers, debt. And this means that we have limited resources for investment into infrastructure and essential services. National debt is now over 5.2 trillion rand. And South Africa cannot go on like this. And in the debate today so far, we've heard the ANC double down on BE and CADA deployment, which shows us who their true constituency is. It is not the millions of South Africans looking for work or looking for opportunity. Their real constituencies are a handful of CADA deployees and a few thousand BEE billionaires. And their entire system, as they've debated today so far, shows us who they're going to should they attempt to win another election. So South Africa cannot go on like this. And thankfully, every piece of information shows us, Mr. President, that you are the outgoing president. And we will not have to face, if the voters make the right choices, we'll not face a green-red coalition of doom, but we will have a blue coalition for change. Now, let me tell you what the Blue Coalition for Change, a DA-led government, will do. I see the ANC is heckling a lot when we mention the Coalition for Change. It is precisely because they're terrified that they're all going to be prosecuted for corruption and maladministration whenever we mention the change of government. But this blue coalition of change will get the economic engine revving again. It is essential to do so to lift millions of people out of poverty. And we will do so by overhauling labor regulations that limit job growth. We will make sure that young people and older people who have been locked out of the economy get skills through apprenticeships and development programs. And we will boldly put an end, finally, to apartheid classification of race and employment equity and preferential procurement. We will no longer use those outdated and crass categories to classify people. Our focus will be on meritocracy and non-racialism to make sure that diversity and merit thrive. On the tax system, we will commit to no new taxes, unlike what the finance minister will be announcing in a month from now. We will also prevent hidden tax increases and to make sure the poor are taken care of, who are struggling with the cost of living crisis. The ANC MPs who earn all more than R1 million here love to heckle about the poor. None of them are in that basket. But for the poor out there, we will expand the zero-rated VAT food basket so that you can buy chicken, you can buy essential nutrients, and you can feed your families. And lastly, we will make sure that everyone pays their fair share of taxes by ensuring that SARS has the capabilities. We will undo the gutting of SARS under state capture. We'll also rescue public finances from the fiscal cliff. We will stabilize public debt. We will make sure that we don't waste government money, unlike the hecklers on the side over here. And we will end this obsessive culture of bailouts to state-owned enterprises. And I'm looking forward to the Appropriations Committee on Wednesday because I believe SAA has lost another 700 million rand in the last year. And we look forward to taking you on bailouts there. We will also rescue small businesses, and we will make sure we will build an export-oriented economy that makes sure that we rescue South Africa from this economic calamity. This is not going to come about through any New Deal or New Dawn. It will not come about through any New Deal or New Dawn. And as we look back, we've gone from a New Deal to a New Dawn to a false dawn, and now to Ramageddon. So the choice for our country is clear. We can't carry on with unfulfilled promises. Thank you to the ANC. Your time is up, as mine now ends as well. But we will get a better tomorrow through a blue coalition of change that rescues South Africa.
Up. Honorable Zulu.
Naye lo Dintswalo osuka la, Honorable Speaker. Naye ukwazile ukuthi azofika la ngoba samlwela ukuthi azakwazi uDintswalo lo azoma la estikini akwazi ukukhuluma. Nawe Dintswalo noma uhleli ngale walwelwa sethi uyafuna or awufuni. Chairperson, Honorable Speaker, she's still here in the House. Your Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, Your Excellency Deputy President Paul Mashatile, my colleagues, members of the executive who are here today, honorable members of parliament, nani nonke emakhaya, ngicela ukubingelela nina ikakhulukazi ngoba simela ngenxa yenu. Sila sikhuluma nje sikhulumela imisebenzi esiyenzayo siyenzela nina. Silanje ngoba sathunywa yini kusukela ngo1994 nathi kithi nawa amandla hambani niyosisebenzela hambani niyolungisa impilo zethu hambani niyobonisa ukuthi iSouth Africa entsha ingaba khona ingaba possible. Ngibonge kakhulu Chairperson ukuthi nginikezwe leli thuba iorganization yami engihamba ngiziqhayisa ngayo iAfrican National Congress enginikeze lethuba lokuthi namhlanje ke ngithi qabaqaba kancane ngokuthi iAfrican National Congress yenzeni isazowenzani masiqhubeka ngomsebenzi ozayo. Ngimela Honorable President and Deputy President ngumama kaDintswalo, ngu-auntie kaDintswalo, ngu-grandmother kaDintswalo, ngugogo kaDintswalo. La phakathi kwethu sinabomkhulu, sinabomalume, sinobaba bakadinthwalo, laba abazinikezela long before 1994 ukuthi ukhona uDinthwalo ozophila, abaqala ukumenzela imisebenzi ngo-1994, kodwa ngicela ukusho ukuthi baqala ukwenza lokho long before 1994. Ngicela ukuthi ngithi Mr President, ukhulume ngoDinthwalo, uthe ungakaqedi nokukhuluma ngaye usesela in the house. Baqala ke abanye lengaphandle bafuna ukubonisa iSouth Africa ukuthi akekho uDinthwalo lo okhuluma ngaye. Ngifuna ukuthi mina namhlanje umlayezo engiwusa kuDinthwalo ngithi kuye, you are not alone in this journey. Reach out for help, share your story and connect with others who have faced similar challenges like you, but also reach out to the government of the African National Congress, whose sole purpose of existence is to change you into a better Dinthwalo. I want to say, abo Dinthwalo abaningi lapha ngaphandle, you are worthy, you are capable, and you are deserving of a better future. Ngicela ukuthi kuthiwe namhlanje ngini ngusweeper, kodwa ke anginikwanga umshanyelo. Ngoba if benginikewe umshanyelo ngabe ngithathe wonke lamazwi avela ngapha ngawashanyela kancane kancane ngaze ngawakhipha ngomnyango. Akodwa kaninginikanga umshanyelo. Next time ngicela ninginike umshanyelo. Ngicela ukuthi ngithi kini ke ningalaleli uSteenhuisen with his lot. Don't listen to people whose sole purpose of existence is to demoralize you. They tell you nothing has happened since 1994. Don't listen to Honorable Steenhuisen and his lot, who don't listen to nobody but himself and his lot. Don't listen to the so-called moonshoot. Don't listen to pessimism. Don't listen to any of those people who want to tell you that nothing has happened since 1994. I want to say today, Mr. President, we are here because we are a government that cares. We are here because many of my colleagues have spoken about the past of where we came from and where we are. I do want to remind you, Chairperson and honorable members, that we, those who struggled to bring this South Africa to where it is today, at the time that we were struggling, we thought it would not be possible. We thought democracy would not come. We thought we were lost and would die outside. And those who were in prison and all, they thought it wasn't going to be possible. But what made it possible was the commitment of all South Africans, irrespective of race, color, or creed, who stood up and said, apartheid, like Israel apartheid, will not survive. Will not survive because many people commit themselves to changing the lives of people. Honorable Chairperson, let me remind the naysayers and those with self-inflicted amnesia what we inherited when we came into office. The destruction of the family units and communities torn apart by slave trade and migrant labor system, which we still suffer today. Apartheid policies that impoverished individuals, created spatial poverty traps, and negatively impacted on the human capital formation of Black people in particular. A fragmented social welfare system based on race, gender, and geographical location. Welfare policies, legislation, and programs were inequitable, inappropriate, and ineffective in addressing poverty and basic human rights. And I would like to say, Mr. President, as a Minister of Social Development, it pains me to walk up and down the streets of Cape Town and see the number of people who are homeless. It pains me to see the DA talking so much, just 200 meters from here. Walk down the street, Mr. President. I'll invite you one of the days. We walk and we see how many of our people are languishing in poverty outside on the streets of Cape Town. And I say to the people of South Africa, we care even for those who are out there because they are part and parcel of ourselves. We care for them. This government of the Western Cape that pretends like it is taking care of our people, just walk out there and see what it is. Mr. President, in your State of the Nation address, you outlined the remarkable journey we have traversed and the massive gains we have achieved under this government for all South Africans. And let me tell you, as you sit here and look at me, I don't look at any South African from any point of view other than the fact that this is a South African who needs assistance. This is a South African who needs to pay attention by the government of the African National Congress. And so what have we done since then? Ngiyambona noSoli ukhona la phakathi kwenu. Mina naye uSoli sithathene laphaya eNCOP. Ngiyabezwa nje oSteynhuisen namhlanje sekuyibo abakhuluma ngama grants. Impela nina yini enikhuluma ngama grants nina ebenisitshela ukuthi the economy is not capable of paying the grants? Yini esenikhuluma ngama grants ngoba siya kuma election? Yini ebenisitshela nisasitshela namanje ukuthi if the economy doesn't grow asikwazi ukubhadala ama grant? Let me tell you, we have been paying the grants from 1994 to date. Even when the economy is not doing very well, we have stood up and said, we shall be with the people of South Africa. Whether the economy is not doing well or not doing well, it remains our responsibility and our capability to make sure that those that have absolutely nothing, at least we can give them something and help them to lift themselves up. Nina, Niti, give the men a rod to fish. And I'm saying, where's that river? Where's that fish? And Kulumangai. Tina, we have the river, we have the fish. What we have done, Honorable Speaker, improve access to sustainable livelihoods and entrepreneurial opportunities through grant funding and capacity building of civil society organizations, progressively expanded social protection coverage from 2.4 million in 1994 to a whooping 28 million to support those who cannot support themselves. We are currently providing regular income support each month without fail to more than 4 million older persons, about 1 million adults with disabilities, and 160,000 children with disabilities. More than 13 million children from poor households receive child support grant, while a further 237 children are supported through our foster grant. Provide financial support to the tune of 8.2 billion rand to non-profit organizations. Increase the number of children benefiting from early childhood development. And Mr. President, you spoke so eloquently about the ECD, about early childhood development, because that didn't swallow. The first one that we have of the 30 years, the next didn't swallow of the next 30 years will be very different even from the one of the current 30 years. We have created 500,000 employment opportunities through expanded public works, address disproportionate impact of poverty on women through women empowerment, pass progressive pieces of legislation such as the Children's Act to ensure protection of children, intensified international collaboration with development and UN agencies such as UNICEF, UNDP, ILO on best practices, expanded access to care and support services for victims and survivors through the implementation of Pillar 4 of the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence, capacitated the Gender Violence Command Center and the National Emergency Team. I also would like, Mr. President, to say we need to look no further than the 2023 National Senior results. Of the 897,775 grade 12 learners who wrote NSC, 543,780 full-time learners were social grant beneficiaries, with 62 out of 110 top performing learners in different categories. And Mr. President, we do say today, sithi nje qaba qaba. Sisazobuya when we further explain during the budget speech
Your
as
time is
well
up.
as the, thank you, Chairperson Nina Hambanyolala.